Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a special video to share with you guys, one that I've not done before. I actually want to talk about what goes into a Metal Complex knife review. I think that, you know, there's a lot of people subscribing to my channel right now, and that's great. I love that. But the more people that subscribe, the more I feel like, you know, I should do this video and explain what it is that you're going to get from this channel. If you're going to invest your time in my channel, you should know, you know, who you're getting the information from and what type of information it is and what you can expect from this channel in the future. So I'm going to talk about that today. Thank you so much to my generous patrons for supporting me right now. If you'd like to check out my Patreon, there's of course a link down in the description. You can get your hands on some cool stickers and some other benefits. The support would mean the world to me, absolutely. And please follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Got a bunch of different knives laid out, knives that are manufactured in different parts of the world, and also knives that come, you know, in different price ranges, expensive, inexpensive, different locking systems. There's really no point to the knives out here. They're just laying out here so that you guys have something to look at while I talk. So, basically, what goes into a knife review on this channel? If you are new, I upload a lot. That's kind of the thing with the Metal Complex YouTube channel, is I upload twice a day, every day, consistently. That's what I do. Why? Am I grinding? Am I like, you know, working myself to the bone? Am I, you know, no, I enjoy this. It's easy for me to do because this is how my brain works. I am constantly wanting to acquire new things and look at new things and talk about new things. The information is, you know, it's always just spilling out of me all the time. Before I did the channel, I would, I'm sure would annoy my friends because I could not stop talking about knives. So it just made sense for me to do that. How am I able to do that? How am I able to get my hands on so many knives for review? I think a lot of people assume that I get knives from manufacturers or retailers. Sometimes, but the truth is more than 95% of the knives that come in for review on this channel are actually provided by my generous viewers. They are lent to me based on a list that I try to make up about once every month and a half or so of knives that I am genuinely interested in. And then people will lend them to me. Of course, knives that are here are stored safely, and then I pay for return shipping and insurance if that's something that they want. But they also dictate exactly whether or not I can use them, how much use is comfortable to them, whether or not I'm allowed to take them apart, right? And that can create some weird parameters sometimes in a review, right? Because I want to give as much information as possible. But I've created a system that sort of is, you know, it's meant to be efficient. It's meant to work well with my whole wanting to upload 2 times a day and provide the information or the consistency of content that my viewers expect. And at the same time, work within those parameters in a general sense, right? Now, something that I am both unable to do physically, mentally, and because of time constraints is do extensive, in-depth cutting tests. Fortunately, 95% of you, literally 95%, that's the like to dislike ratio on this channel, is that since the beginning, 2.5 years ago, has been above 95%. You guys are okay with how I do things. You guys don't expect me to do comprehensive cut tests and long-term this or that, right? You guys know that that's not the type of channel this is. The people who have been around from the beginning, especially, you know what to expect here. If you're new coming in, likely you're going to judge my channel and the type of content that I provide based on the other channels that you've been enjoying. And there are a million different knife channels out there. Some of them do comprehensive cut tests and long-term things, and they only upload once a month or so. And some channels are like mine, where they review things and they handle them, just kind of talk about them based on their experience. My type of channel is going to cater to a lot of certain types of people, and for other people, they're going to go, well, I don't know, this isn't for me, and that's perfectly fine. There is no way for me to please everybody, and I'm definitely not trying to. This is all, you know, the whole idea here is to make sure that I can continue to do it and that I can have fun with it and make it enjoyable for you guys, right? If this wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it. If this felt like work, I wouldn't do it. Absolutely not. It does take a lot of time. There's about 20 hours or so a week that go into this channel, and having a full-time job and a family on top of that makes it very, very difficult. But yeah, I do enjoy it. What types of knives will I review? I noticed that you have links, right? You review knives that you can provide links for because it benefits your channel? Yeah, I do have links, and those links do benefit my channel, but that's definitely not, you know, the way that I pick knives. If you've been watching for a long time, I pick knives that are, number one, interesting to me. They have to be interesting. I won't review it if I don't think it looks interesting or I don't feel like there's going to be talking points. It's boring. You know, there's certain knives that I like and that I don't like that I will look at, you know, based on aesthetics. And sometimes there's knives that don't appeal to me aesthetically, and then there's a whole bunch of, you know, talk about it and people, oh, it's so great. Then maybe the intrigue builds, and maybe I'll check it out, right? I don't care if it's manufactured in China, if it's manufactured in the United States, if it's manufactured in Russia. I live in the United States, so my own personal buying habits are catered more towards US knives, but I don't really care where they come from. If they're interesting, I'm going to look at them. I don't care if they're budget knives. I don't care if they're high-end custom knives. If they're interesting, I will look at them. I don't care if they're sprint runs or limited production runs or if they're discontinued. I will look at them. There are plenty of knives that I review on this channel that I cannot provide links for, that don't benefit the channel in any way, shape, or form, but I look at them because they are interesting, because it brings out this energetic dialogue that I try to deliver organically. I can't fake this. I don't want to try to fake it, so I'm not going to look at a knife that's not interesting, because then I would have to force it, and that's not fun for me, and it's not fun or beneficial for you guys. So what type of experience, you know, do I gather with a knife before I review it? So I'm somebody who, you know, I've always said that the knife world and, you know, the user, enthusiast, collector world, it's all made up of roughly the same percentages. 80% of us, I believe, are using our knives for incredibly simple tasks. Opening boxes, opening packages, cutting tape, cutting some rope and cardboard and whatever, right? 20% of us are really using our knives hard, using our knives every single day for crazy stuff. Maybe sharpening our knives once a week, maybe even every single day, right? 20%. Less than 1% of us are using our knives as a means to scale a building or grappling hook. I don't know what content is out there that's got, I mean, there's not a lot of you who are doing that. I understand there are people who are forced to use knives in extreme circumstances for things that are not knife tasks, but it's not very many people. Fortunately for me, the vast majority of us are using our knives for simple things, and probably the most of you coming to my channel are watching it because you're like me. You're an enthusiast. You appreciate the fine details. Maybe you do use knives, right? But you like the higher end stuff, or you like the in-depth discussion about materials, right? The steel and stuff like that. I use my knives for little things. I do sharpen my own knives. I'm still a novice, but I definitely have experience sharpening low-end budget steels and ultra high-end, you know, the powder metallurgy steels, definitely, right? I do use knives extensively for things like breaking down enormous amounts of cardboard boxes that build up in my garage because we have the subscription services to the diapers and the food stuff, right? And that's a lot of times how I get a feel for a steel. Now, I don't do that with every single knife. Why don't you do that with every single knife? Because how are we supposed to know that you know what you're talking about? I have handled so many knives on this channel, and even before I started the channel, so many. Now, I'm not an expert in anything. I'm not a professional or anything. I'm not going to pretend to know all there is to know, but none of us do. There are plenty of people out there who know 100 times more than me and can probably speak better to some of the little details, right? But I've handled a lot of knives, and I've used a lot of knives in, you know, steels like CPM 20CV, or the rat's not on the table, D2, S35VN, M390, 9CR18MOV, blah, 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 and a ton of different geometries. Not enough to be able to definitively say exactly how the knife is going to respond in an infinite number of circumstances with infinite variables. That's the problem there. No matter how much time I spend doing this, there's just no result. So the information that I'm able to provide is based on the experience that I've gained handling and using some of these knives in quite a few different scenarios, right? But ultimately, the information that comes out the other end is going to be beneficial to the vast majority of people who watch my channel and stay to watch the content. Regular EDC stuff for people who like to enjoy knives beyond the fact that they are just utility cutting tools. This has worked out well for me so far. Throughout the life of the channel, the like to dislike ratio has always remained above 95%. There's always people who aren't going to like my content, and that's fine. You don't have to watch my content. It may not be made for you. There's not, you know, I'm not wrong, you're not wrong. It's just, hey, if I'm not providing what you like, then that's perfectly okay. And by the way, this video wasn't made to, you know, answer that question. I think it's good to clarify, you know, what the goals of the channel are and where the information comes from, right? So yeah, in some cases, somebody will send me a knife, and if I'll look at it and say, hey, this is titanium, and it's S35VN, and it's in a blade shape that I'm familiar with, and a geometry that I'm familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and speak as that, with that as a foundation, and then I talked about the little elements of the knife that I do or don't like. So that's essentially what goes into each knife review. Sometimes this process of handling a knife and experiencing it, I always tell people when they send me a knife, if you send me a knife, I'm going to have it for about 4 to 5 weeks. This gives me time to make sure that there's room in the schedule to get everything else done, and that everything is, with all these knives coming in, right, I have to make sure that it is efficient. I want to get these things back to their owners, back, in the condition that they sent it to me in, safely, efficiently, all that stuff. There has to be time to get everything else done, and time to sit and experience the knife. If the person tells me, yeah, you can carry it and use it, then I definitely will. If it's something really expensive or really high end and they don't want me carrying or using it, then I'll use the knowledge that I have about blade geometries that are similar, steels that are similar, locking systems and profiles that are similar, to use as a foundation for the review, which is, all that a lot of us can do anyways, right? Frame locks generally function about the same, liner locks about the same, drop point blades are, not necessarily all the same, but the idea, right, is it is a blade that cuts. If it's thinner, it's going to cut generally better. Certain finishes are going to slow it down. Certain steels are going to resist corrosion better. There's all the little things that we collect and, that have a justifiable foundation for what we assume beyond that for any particular knife. So that's how I'll do it. Now, if it's a steel that I am not familiar with, you guys know that here recently I handled a Rex 45 Shaman for the first time. Obviously, I wasn't going to take anything out in Rex 45 and just try to, speculate. We can all go read Knife Steel Nerds and read about the information on paper, which is basically just the potential, utility of that composition, right? Heat treat matters, geometry matters, right? Sometimes I will go out of my way to experience it beyond that, right? So in the case of Rex 45, the gentleman was nice enough to say, go ahead and use it. This is going to be a user. You go ahead and experience it and find out as much as you can. So I did. And that's beneficial because now moving forward, I feel more confident speaking about Rex 45. Do I think I'm a professional on Rex 45 now? No, I'm not a professional about any of this. Not at all. I talk fast, I talk a lot, and I put a magnifying glass over every last little detail that I think people might find interesting. And because that brings me joy. It is fun to do this, right? So yeah, in that case, if it's something brand new to me, a new locking system, a brand new style, a brand new steel, something that would require a little bit more work before I felt confident talking about, then I will take that extra effort if the person who's lending me the knife is willing to let me do that. Absolutely. When I look over a knife, I consider, of course, where it is made, what materials it's made out of, whether or not that syncs up with my own personal taste, my own personal wants within a certain price range, right? I feel out for things like quality of action. If it's a flipper, I'm feeling out things like detent strength, whether or not the relationship feels good between the opening mechanism and the strength of the detent, or the whatever the locking system is, or how the blade stays seated in the frame. Lockout, things like blade play, lock up, little things like fit and finish. But again, it's all depending on the price range. And then I consider its competition, other manufacturers, makers, other knife models that are similar, whether or not this is would be interesting to certain people versus another style that is obviously in its direct competition. There is no such thing as an absolutely better knife versus another. The fact of the matter is that certain knives will just speak to some people more than other people, or be better for some people over other people. But we're not robots, right? We like things for different reasons. Some of us will look at two knives and go, this one definitely, now I'm not actually comparing these two, but some people might say, for example, well, this one actually seems to be a better tool, better cutting geometry. I think the materials and the profile and all that fit better in terms of just an efficient cutting tool for me, right? But I just like how this one looks better. I'm going to buy that one. We do that all the time, right? And so I try to take that into consideration in thinking, who might this appeal to? Who might this be good for, right? For people looking at this price range and coming at this from this perspective, because we're not all users. We're not all people who have the same value systems across the board for everything. We're not all collectors. We're not all enthusiasts, right? Certain knives are going to appeal. So I try to put that all together, and I use the information that I have gathered based on handling all of these different knives to let people know. Almost every knife out there, except for some of the absolute gas station junk, will be more or less beneficial, right? So if I'm looking at a knife that I don't necessarily like, I can still sometimes pick up on reasons that it might be good for certain people. This is a glass half full channel. I'm somebody who likes to be positive. That's why certain knives that are not interesting to me, or certain knives that I don't think I'm going to have enough good things to say about, I probably just won't show it. I know some of you are like, we want to see those negative reviews. We want to see you be negative, right? I don't like being negative, guys. I've only done a few negative videos and I just don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good to bash it. I'd rather just not do it if I know that I'm going to just bash it and tear it apart, right? If it's interesting to me and I get it in hand and I'm enthusiastic about certain elements but frustrated by others, then I will be negative and critical if it calls for it. I'll never be dishonest. It's very, very important to me that every single knife that comes across my table is looked at, from my perspective, and at the same time, trying to be objective and critical where it's necessary, because that's being honest, right? Being myself, but being honest about what I think about these knives, about anything that comes across my table, is very important, because that's the information that you guys are using to determine whether or not you want to pick something up. So that's really important to me. I make mistakes. I don't get all the facts right, especially consider that's a flaw with the structure of this channel, is trying to churn out a lot of content all the time, which let me take a pause here. I know that a lot of people are going to watch this and make a bunch of suggestions, and I appreciate your suggestions and your feedback. The truth is that a lot of your feedback, sometimes I take it and I make micro adjustments. I do not make major changes for the channel to cater to a small group of people. It's not beneficial, right? If I find that a lot of information, a lot of people are saying, you really need to change this, you really need to make it this way, and they all have the same suggestion, then that's a suggestion that I look at. If I have rogue people here and there and they're like, you should really put the stats up in the video, and then you should do some comprehensive cut tests, I don't get that very often. I've got that request maybe 12 times in the last, I'm not trying to flex, about 4 million views on this channel since I started. So I'm not going to do that, because that's not what my audience wants to see. I am interested in growing. I am interested in, people subscribing to my channel and coming and enjoying the content that I want, right? I want the people here who want to hear my perspective, who like my style. I don't want to change and try to appeal to a whole different type of audience. I want to do it like this because this is the way that I like to do things. There might be certain things that I could change about this channel, and all of a sudden maybe the channel would double or triple in size. But if it's not my style and I'm not having fun doing it, then do I really want that? I want to grow, but I want to grow the way that I want to grow, right? Does that make sense? And I want to be honest. So that's the idea there. So sometimes, with a video like this, I expect, whether I want it or not, there are going to be people who are giving me suggestions, saying that I should change certain things, telling me that there are certain things that they do or don't like. The hard truth is that because I like doing this the way that I'm doing it, I will probably not listen to the vast majority of you. But every now and then there's somebody who comes up with a really good suggestion. And even more rare is somebody who comes up with a suggestion that offers a change in the structure of things moving forward. That's only happened 1 or 2 times on this channel, and by all means, that is not something that I'm suggesting you guys try to do, because again, I like doing it this way. And based on my like to dislike ratio, most of you like that too. But this is no way me saying like, look how great my channel's doing. Look how great this is working out for everybody. That is not what I'm trying to say. I wish you guys could see me. I have my hands on my hips and I'm moving back and forth really dramatically. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this all seems to be working out well. You guys seem to enjoy my content, but a lot of you probably weren't aware of, exactly how this all comes to be, right? From getting the knife to, the parameters that are set by the person lending it to me, to my experience with it and how that ultimately churns out a review at the end, right? The ultimate goal of this channel, what is the goal of this channel? Besides growing? Yeah, I definitely want to grow. Any YouTube channel that says they're not interested in growing, okay, sure. we all, of course, right? We like to see things blossom and grow, right? We like to reach people and connect with people and all that. It's fun, right? The goal of this channel is to be as honest as I possibly can about something that I think might be recommendable, but I need to handle it first, right? And then recommend it and offer different perspectives. And then ultimately, if that results in somebody deciding, you know what, I'm going to take a chance on this. I trust Metal Complex. I'm going to go ahead and purchase this. They purchase it, they get it in hand, and then they enjoy it. For whatever reason that they see fit, they enjoy it. And then they come back and they say, I bought that knife and I like it and it makes me happy. Thank you for doing that. That is the best outcome that could possibly come from this channel. Obviously, there are certain things that I don't want to push, certain ideas, right? I don't like to talk about... You'll never ever know what my political opinions are. Don't ask me. You'll never know, because this channel isn't about politics or religion. You'll never know, because that's not why I want you here. I like to talk about knives. I want to know if you enjoy a certain knife that I recommended, and what what your experience with it is, following that purchase. That's all I care about, right? So that's the kind of stuff, anything outside of this. I understand that there's no way to talk about any one specific thing without accidentally or intentionally drawing the attention of people who want to talk about other things they feel are more or less associated with that world, right? Knives, our knife world, we got our own politics. Not really interested, right? If there's something that has the potential to affect the content on my channel, oftentimes I will just steer away from it completely, and you won't hear me talk about it. If you're here, you're going to get a knife review, I'm going to talk extensively. I'm not going to do a lot of crazy complex editing. I'm not going to do a lot of cut tests or anything like that. I'm going to tell you what I think based on, my experience with objects that are similar. 21 minutes is probably enough, don't you think? All right, that's going to be pretty much it today, guys. I hope that this gave you some perspective, whether you've been around for a while or you are brand new to my channel. Absolutely. If you enjoyed this video or found it mildly entertaining, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.